Welcome to Virtual Concert Hall's live programs. Thank you for joining us. My name is Jennifer Savage, and I'll be your host for today's show. We're excited to be presenting our 5th episode of Jack Price is Right. And today we'll be exploring fear as it relates to our lives and our experiences anywhere from the lens of musician, artist, manager, performer, and all the way down to eye level of the crude and unfiltered human being. Why do we decide things out of fear, and why do we fear it? There is no one-size-fits-all answer, and this could leave you with more questions than answers, but it's more real that way, and that's what we're here for. Welcome to Jack Price's Right live show, and just to show you what we're about, here's a little preview to recap our last installment on patterns. Today, we will be exploring patterns as it relates.
The behavioral patterns are amazing because we never really learn from them. The patterns feel good, okay? Every day I get up, I do all this weird stuff. I wash my mask from the CPAP, and then I, brush my teeth and all this. Yeah, then I go outside and get in the car and I go to Del Taco and get an iced coffee at McDonald's. Then I wash my car, then I gas the car up. I drive through them every day just to make me feel good. We are living in a feel-good society. Yeah. And like the Bible says, man is to have joy. So I want to be joyful. I want to be happy. It's a little burrito. It's a tiny little, I really like free stuff. I'd feel pretty good. Yeah, pretty good,
Okay.
I never sway from that routine.
You never deviate.
There are patterns that are very productive. Oh, I mean, he sounds like he really knows what he's talking about. It's more entertaining to be just me. Well, I can be refined if you want me to. It gets a little tedious, Okay, so not good. Negative advertising works. As many people as possible, so being a centrist is much more exciting than going all the way to the left or all the way to the right. You want to be in the middle. You can see patterns in just about everything. I mean, you can just look at a leaf Okay. Patterns can teach you things.
Right.
Angles, those patterns in the leaf. There's always an angle. If you're playing straight on, you're using nothing but fingers and it's just air. You're playing the air. But when I hear someone really with a full-bodied sound, I know they're using the angles. I know that I'm right. You know, I've never been wrong to my
this
knowledge
is sort of
because I am lazy and I'm spoiled. So that's where you get confused when you overanalyze like Yehudi Menuhin did. The patterns of behavior are established and you can repeat the act by knowing exactly what you're doing. So you have to control the piano, but you don't have to control people. If you stop controlling people and concentrate on yourself, then that's something to control. Self-control. Death brings wealth. Death brings money, and that's why there's war. And you heard it here on Jack Price is Right. Yes. Doesn't bode well. Wrong. So there's not one size fits all, as you mentioned earlier
There
in
is
the
no
show.
one size fits all, right?
There
Answer,
isn't.
no.
That's a truth. Lots of money does not necessarily equate a big career. Boy, but it really is. I'm always right. Have you noticed? Even when
Yeah.
I'm wrong, I'm always right.
Price
Yeah.
is Right.
So
Name of the show. And that was our last episode on patterns. And I just wanted to say, reiterate here, welcome to Jack Price is Right. I am your host, Jennifer Savage. It's great to be here. And today, I am excited to be joined live with my co-host and celebrated partner in crime, Tigran Atamian, otherwise known as Jack Price. And just to give a little introduction here, formerly known as Tigran Atamian and now known as Jack Price, he began his career in artist management in response to his own career as an RCA recording artist after winning first prize in the 50th anniversary Naumburg competitions, as well as the crazy pianist who premiered The Right for solo piano. Welcome to the show, Jack.
okay. So
Yeah,
it's good to be here.
great
Again.
to see you. Yeah, again and again. We're back.
Yes. Okay, so fear.
Yeah, let's get right into that. Fear.
Yeah, well,
What do you really think?
what do I really think? Fear itself is what we have to fear. Like the president said, what's his name? Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He said, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. I'm not sure about all of his policies. I've studied them. Okay. But this statement is absolutely, it rings true for me. So getting back to truth, I think it's true. The only thing we have to fear is fear. So I know.
So
let me
is
tell
that
you-
what's behind door number 1, our first topic?
Oh
being fear
yeah, door
itself?
number where's Monty Hall when you need him? You know, I mean, it's like Star Trek. We added another show at the Gong Show, so now we're doing 4 shows in one. With Jack Price is Right, it makes it 5 shows. Okay, I think what we're gonna do. What we're going to do is just keep adding show gimmicks. That's going to be the gimmick. Okay?
All right. But fear
Oh,
itself.
actually, it's 6 shows now with Larry David. Okay, so curb your enthusiasm. My enthusiasm for fear is this: I don't like it at all, and I know exactly what I just said. I've had that feeling constantly, where I'm not really afraid of what's coming up. I'm afraid of being afraid of what's coming up. So, you know, it's like you're backstage. I had this feeling, but I had this dream of playing the Rachmaninoff third. And when I walked out to the platform, I couldn't remember one note of it because there are too many notes. You know, like Mozart, too many notes, just cut a few.
Right.
That's actually
you
how.
feared the fear itself.
Yes,
feared
I
the fearing
feared the
process?
No, I feared the feeling of the fear for not remembering any of the notes.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense? Because it makes a lot of sense to me. So I'm not fearing the piece. I know I can play it and all that. I'm fearing that moment that may be a fantasy or not, that where I walk out and it's just a blank. And I can't even remember the theme. It opens with that unison theme and I can't remember it. But I can remember the first passage, that Bach type thing that comes up the keyboard.
So you still feel fear at that point, but what you're really fearing is the effect that fear has on you.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. Yeah, and I think this relates to how people in their decision-making process really work. And that is out of fear. Like Nixon said, and I'm only quoting him, this was not an original thought of mine. I'd like to claim it, though. He said, people don't vote out of love, out of passion. They vote out of fear because they're afraid of the next guy. They're afraid the next candidate, he might get in and blow it all, the economy, and we'll be in World War IV by then or something like that, something really bad.
So why do people make their decisions based
I love
on
that
fear?
word bad. I guess Kiki likes it too because he's giving me a buzzer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I failed. Anyway, the point is, fear in itself is enough to fear. You don't have to fear the actual thing you're afraid of, which might be the roller coaster ride. Like you're about to go on the roller coaster and say, "Oh man, I hope that thing doesn't jump the track," and then I end up being strawberry jam on it. Like splat. I've always been afraid of that fear of dying on a roller coaster, like at Seven Flags or whatever you call those places.
Six Flags?
Six Flags. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so I never go to Six Flags. I just watch people go to Six Flags. I'm in the parking lot watching. I don't even enter Six Flags. I'm watching them walk in. Anyway, it's fear. Fear. People vote out of fear. People make major decisions out of fear. I can't even tell you how many I've made. Changing bank accounts because of whatever. It's just bizarre how you have to insulate yourself in life from the bad guys. Okay. I know that's a loaded statement. Just take it for what it's worth. I'm not going to get into details because then the show will go on for 4 hours. Okay.
Right.
Fear is a huge topic. Suffice to say, having said that, suffice to say, I couldn't remember the phrase I wanted to say. No.
Yeah.
Having said that, fear is the thing to fear. I'm going to repeat myself, not the actual thing you're afraid of. So it's the feeling of fear. The feeling of fear. That guy really loves his fingers on the trigger all the time, isn't he? Yeah. Okay. I'm afraid you're going to keep doing that. That's fear. Okay. So the thing is, we have to guard against that feeling, not against the act. I use the word the act a lot. The thing itself. Right. I use that a lot because it is an act, like an act of God, like in the contract. Yeah. Civil tumult, act of God, acts of God, that's how you can cancel a contract. If there's an act of God, like a earthquake, I suppose. Of course, a lot of people won't say that's an act of God. That's a natural phenomenon. Okay. But the point is, we've got to get over the fear of fear, not get over fear, you see, because fear is a normal feeling that humans, response that people have. But fearing fear, you don't want to live in that world. You don't want to fear the fear of someone's anger, say. Okay?
You don't want to live your life based on fear.
Right. Or you don't want to live your life in fear, because so much of our decision making is out of fear. So much of our very existence is out of fear. I mean, I remember I had a very bad year last year, 23. I'll just use myself as an example because I'm me. I know what happened.
Right.
Okay, I'm not going to tell you what happened. There were physical things. I had an accident, car accident. There are a lot of things that went into that year. And it was phenomenal. I started the year perfectly on January 1st. I drove out of
How
Tucson,
so? Yeah.
out of my, I had a booking thing down there right on the 1st. I had a meeting with a conductor. I'm starting to drive towards LA, and boom, out of nowhere, I hit like the side of a mountain, I thought. Okay. Someone had T-boned me that was on drugs. Okay, let's just leave it at that. So I thought I
Okay.
was dead when I came to. I thought it was dead. So I
Mhm.
said a prayer and I said, wow, thanks for that angel that was right between me and that truck. Okay, that
Mhm.
was the beginning of my new year. Can you imagine? So they took me to the
Yeah.
hospital. Everything checked out, the brain, the whole thing. I ended up with just a numb finger, which I still have. It'll go away. But
Mhm.
anyway, see, I'm not afraid of that. I know it's going to go away or not.
Yeah.
So what if it doesn't go away? I can still play the piano. So what?
Mhm.
Okay, there's no fear there, but my fear became real as the year went on. It was a roller coaster of events. Then, soon after I had a couple of epidurals shot in my neck to relieve the
Right.
pain and so on. Everything healed and blah, blah, blah. Then the next thing happened. Guess what?
Mhm.
The dentist
Yeah.
says to me, oh, you're grinding your teeth. I said, yeah, since I was little. And then he says, well, there may be a reason why you're grinding your teeth. And it's not because you need a tooth guard to keep
Yeah.
yourself from grinding. It turns out that I had sleep apnea and that I wasn't breathing
Okay.
29 times an hour per evening. Okay,
Right.
29 times I
Mhm.
wasn't breathing. That's hard on your
Yeah.
heart and your lungs and blah, 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 your brain.
Mhm.
That happened. We solved it, but then
Mhm.
the next thing, I got a
One after the
UTI. I
other,
ended
things
up in
kept
the,
happening.
yeah, I ended up in the hospital for 4 days because, I wasn't drinking water at all because I hate water.
Right.
Now I love it. Okay, look,
Mhm.
don't you see what's happening here? It's like a series of events. You know that movie called a series of unfortunate events? Well, my
Yeah.
life has been an incredible series of an unfortunate events. It's also been a life of some very fortunate events. Luckily, they
Right.
balanced out, and I'm still here. So the
Yeah.
point is, we're afraid of being afraid. Every
Mhm.
time one of those things happened to me, I thought it was the end. So I wasn't
Mhm.
really afraid of. I mean, CPAP's nothing. I wear it, 8 hours a night. It's no big deal. I sleep great.
Right.
Everything's wonderful, and I'm not going to die 15 years before I'm supposed to die, like the
Mhm.
doctor said.
But you
So,
were
because it,
afraid of the effects of that sleep apnea and all those
no,
major
I was,
things
yes, well, the effects of
that
sleep
happened.
apnea are one thing. I was afraid that it was over. Okay. So I was
Mhm.
afraid of fear that the body was degenerating and
Mhm.
my brain wasn't functioning. And why did I have this accident? I must have been out of my mind. No, it was totally
Mhm.
not my fault. I mean, we can go into the
Mhm.
whole details of that accident, the police reports and everything. It's totally
Yeah.
clear what happened. But my
Mhm.
mind is playing tricks on me. I'm saying, "Hmm, maybe I could have done something to keep those illegals from hitting me while they were on drugs and alcohol. No, there's no way I could have prevented that
You
T-bone
couldn't have
accident.
known.
I
Right.
couldn't
Mhm.
possibly have known. There were no lights, nothing. And I was
Mhm.
going the limit with my belt on. Maybe that saved me. But the point
Mhm.
is one thing after another. This is what I call chain of events. Well, everybody calls it that. But the
Yeah.
point is,
Series of unfortunate events. Chain of
yes, the movie with Jim
events.
Carrey. That is
Mhm.
my life. And I thought it was over. And I wasn't really afraid of dying because I'm not. I
Mhm.
welcome it actually.
Right.
But yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
death has never, tied me up in knots. I'm ready for anything,
Right.
as you
Okay.
probably can tell. Oh no, I'm not
Yeah.
afraid of death. I'm afraid of being afraid of death. The fear, the fear just gets me all tight in my chest, and I go,
Mhm.
oh, I can't possibly endure this. And so
Right.
we are like that in every act of our life. I mean, like you go into the
Mhm.
the voting booth. Okay, I'm not gonna. This is not a political statement. Okay, But you go into the voting booth, and most people have not done their homework. Listen carefully. They have no idea about mayor and, district attorney. They just vote straight Republican, straight Democrat, whatever. Why? Because they're afraid of voting the other way, or they're afraid of doing the homework for all those different spots, all those different candidates. They're just afraid. So they do one thing and pull the lever, and they're voting out of fear because they're afraid of the next guy. Might as well just keep the incumbent in, because things are, not bad. It's like the guy in front of the mirror. He looks at his tummy and he goes, not bad. Most
So you're
women
just
go,
fearing a worse outcome, and that's what you're basing your decision on, when that's not what you should be focusing on at all. Right.
think about it. If we voted out of love and compassion and intelligence, not out of fear, how much further we'd be along the path. As one of my ex-wives said, you're just not far enough down the path. Yeah, that's true. The path of enlightenment, that is. Of course, she was wrong. Of course, she was wrong, because I'm right? Jack Price is always right. But the point is, Jack Price is right, but so is Matilda or whatever. I will accept that applause for once. Okay, so the thing is, great, yeah, and I'm so humble about it too, don't you think? The thing is, no matter what people say, they're not afraid of the act. They're afraid of the fear. So you can say, stop being afraid of fear, not fearing fear. Just say, I don't want to be afraid of that feeling of fear. And there you go. That's fear itself in a nutshell.
Stop being afraid of fear is what you should tell people instead.
And that's my opinion. I think they're not really afraid. Like someone said, hey, what's it like to be married? I said, get married and find out, because it's different for everybody. I can't say okay, I've been married 3 times, so I already have had 3 experiences that are totally different. They're not the same. I mean, we'd like to lump them all and say, this is all the same. That's wrong. Lumping things in categories like all so-and-sos
Blanket
are so-and-so.
rules for anything, right?
Yeah, you can't. There are no rules.
Altogether.
It's individual. Take each person individually, not as part of a group. Okay?
Well, then let me ask you this. Let's see what's behind door number 2 here on our second subtopic. How do you live with fear itself?
That's difficult to brainwash yourself into not fearing fear. So what I do, since this show is about predicaments, and do you ever feel like you're all alone, And the answer to that is constantly.
Constantly? Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm constantly alone. We come into this world alone and we leave this world alone. And in between, we're really lonely. So that's just the way it is. And when you think about it, if it's that funny that you and I are laughing now, isn't it funny? It's got to be funny. You can't just bemoan everything. You got to laugh about it. You've got to. Okay, so how do you cope? I think the best thing is laughter. I really do. That's why I've watched Curb Your Enthusiasm the entire 12 seasons 4 times in a row, because I can't stop laughing at that guy. He walks into a room and I start laughing. That's the kind of guy I want to know. You see? I don't want to know all this philosophy. I just want funny, because it makes me feel good. You see? It's all a feel-good society. Now we're going back to the last show. I mean, it's
On
all
patterns.
the same. Don't you see what's happening here? The pattern is everything. I mean, everything is the same. Everything ends up being the same. This shirt is the same as the last shirt I wore on the last show, only stylistic differentiation. It has a button-down collar. The other one didn't have a button-down collar, and the color here is orange, and the last color was blue with white vines or flowers on it. So what? It's the same.
Right.
It performs the same function. You don't get to see that much of my t-shirt. That's the idea.
But then back to laughter, finding something funny in all of this, living with your fear. How does that help you?
Finding? There's nothing to find. It's right there. I mean, you're funny. I'm funny. And we're all really funny if we look at each other, really objectively. Take an inventory of yourself, as someone once said. Take an inventory of yourself, meaning, look at yourself, examine yourself. We're pretty funny beings. I mean, you don't have to look at a toad to laugh. Toads are pretty funny looking animals, but so am I.
Right.
So in other words, laughter is a part of the fabric of life. The only problem is we're not laughing enough. We're not uncovering the laughter. We're not looking at things. People say, look at the bright side of life. I say, look at the hilarious side of life, which is every moment. If it's not funny, then it's not life. Life is funny. It's the way things turn out. It's a very funny process, life. I mean, think about it from the day of conception,
Right.
Okay, here's something.
Is it funny in the absurdity that we're here? We've been brought to this world.
Yeah, it's a miracle. Yeah. I videotaped both of my kids popping out, and my ex-wife is horrified. She was there, so she could have stopped it. But she didn't. So I had the video camera, the camcorder, and that was the funniest thing I've ever done, but the most pleasurable. I mean, that was like so revelatory, seeing this alien pop out of another body. It was the most incredible thing, incredulous thing, and funniest thing I've ever seen. I mean, it didn't even look like
absurd. Right.
It was absurd. Yeah. I mean, what is this thing? And then all this cheesy stuff all over her face, and they had to pull it off, and then if their blood sugar was low, they had to go in an incubator for a week. This whole thing, it's just sick. I mean,
right.
I mean, the whole thing is, life is funny enough. There's no fiction. No fiction can be funnier than the reality. So laughter is your best friend. I'll just make that statement. Laughter defeats fear. It does.
Laughter defeats fear.
It does.
And that's
just think
what
about
helps you to live with that fear, how to keep going, how to reframe it in your mind rather than fearing the fear itself and letting it run your life.
I'll give you two examples of laughter, but it wasn't really laughter, but how people defeated fear. One was under the Emperor Nero. The other was under Hitler. Okay, a lot of people have said in the concentration camps that people that were marching to the gas chambers were singing and were very happy. Okay, I'm just going to say that. No comment. In the Colosseum, right after the eyewitness period, like around 67 AD, Nero was in power, and you know what a lunatic he was. And he enjoyed killing Christians in the arena by fire with animals on crosses, then lighting them fire to make them look like candles. And the Christians were singing as they went to their death. Now, let's analyze this. I think they were happy in their faith. Faith comes into it again. And the same goes for the people in the concentration camps and the stalags that were, the Jewish nation was basically exterminated in Germany. And it's a terrible, horrible thing. And but they weren't, not all of them, but many of them were very content. That's an important word.
They were content.
They were content. They may not have been happy, like, oh, wow, I'm going to be burned to death today. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that they were either content or they were laughing at how precarious and stupid life is. It's so delicate. Life is, here today, gone tomorrow. Another saying That's another
Right.
show, of course. One of our, now it's over 110 shows
Here
we have.
today, gone
Yeah,
tomorrow.
here today, gone tomorrow. Can you wrap your head around here today and gone tomorrow? No, you're afraid of it, but you're actually not. You're afraid of the fear of it. You see.
That feeling, the fear of it, the feeling of fearing the thing.
Yeah,
that
that's what
you
you're
think
afraid
that
of.
You fear.
You
itself.
loathe the feel. Yeah, you loathe the feeling. It's like, let's see,
Mhm.
something. What do I loathe? Well, they're really little things, actually. I can't even stand turning on a faucet, you know, not anymore because I'm so old. I'm so old now. When I put my hand towards the faucet, I said, "Oh, right, yeah. I don't want to turn on the water." You know, it's like after a while, mundane actions or acts or whatever become fearful. It just depends on your outlook on life. You know, turning on the television can be a fearful process. Going to your computer and saying, "Oh my gosh, look at all these tasks and this blizzard
Anything
of
could
email."
be turned into something. Anything, even
Yeah,
a mundane task like turning on the TV or whatever machine, can be
yeah,
an object of that fear. But what you really fear is that feeling of fear of this object
yeah.
or action.
Exactly. Exactly. What I fear every day, sometimes, every day, almost always, that's kind of, yeah, it doesn't make much sense, but
Mhm.
is that I'm going to go and call all these guys and get artist engagements. I'm afraid of the fear of their response because there's so many artists,
Mhm.
so few slots. It's a difficult task. Okay. I'm being just totally self effacing and honest here. Come what
Yeah.
may, let the chips fall where they may fall. It's a fear that every manager should have because it's a difficult task. Okay.
Yeah.
This is not an easy thing. Playing the piano is not an easy thing. Being a CEO of Enron, definitely Enron, is not an easy
Right.
thing. You know, yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
it's a precarious thing at best. I mean, people fire people every day. There's
Nothing
a
is
lot
guaranteed.
Nothing's
There.
guaranteed, and there's a lot to fear. Even if you don't fear itself, you can fear a loathing, the feeling of loathing of getting fired. I've never had that feeling because I've always been my own boss. So, but I can fire. Actually, I'm about to fire myself from several tasks, so I know that feeling.
Right.
Yeah, I am.
Mhm.
I'll go into that later. But I'm still working very hard. But there's some things
Mhm.
I'm not that good at. You know, so and so
Believe it or not.
I've decided to delegate those tasks, and I'm
Mhm.
afraid of letting go. Why? Because I will no longer have control. You see. So when you put control in other people's hands, meaning delegating and trusting them, then you have a fear of failure, but you're not fearing the failure. It's the feeling that comes with it. What if that happens?
Feeling.
Yeah, it's like, okay, it's like you said last week. Now I'm going to put you on the spot. You said, sometimes I feel like you're talking to me directly. Well, isn't that what I'm doing? I am talking to you directly, but I'm talking to the whole audience out there, and I'm talking to
Mhm.
myself. And basically, this is therapy for me, okay? Jack
Mhm.
Price is right. I like
What do you
hearing my
really
voice.
think? Right.
Yeah, what do you really
About
think, man?
all of that. Mhm.
Yeah, it's like I like hearing my voice. It comforts me. Maybe because of the timbre of my voice, but maybe it's because I have no accents, so I have no allegiance.
Mhm.
I have no allegiance to any country except for maybe the Midwest. Some
Mhm.
people say, "Oh, you have a Chicagoan accent." And I was born in Chicago, but I don't think I sound like Chicago guys. I mean,
Right.
it's
Okay.
like,
Well,
you know what I'm saying? We're getting off topic, but basically,
yeah.
you fear
Mhm.
fear. You don't fear the task.
Not the object of the fear itself.
No,
All right.
because
Well.
there's such a
Mhm.
thing as bravery. People are usually very brave. They dive into things. They're
Right.
into it. They're fearing the fear. They're not fearing
Mhm.
the task
Well,
because they do the
when
task.
we come back to this, let's explore the relationship of fear and bravery. And before that, we'll pivot right here with a little clip that we like to show right here to switch up the convo a little bit. And stay tuned right here on Jack Price is Right.
Chopin's Ballade Number 3 in A-flat major, Opus 47.
And that was a little clip right from the Jack Price is Right archives that we've got. And I do want to take a moment here to mention that we are live Fridays with Jack Price is Right. We've got so many topics in store. Check it out. We are coming up with our next episode on preparation. Is preparation necessary? Find out here on Jack Price is Right. And here's a little preview of this next topic on preparation that we will discuss with Jack Price. And you can check us out on our YouTube channel at Virtual Concert Halls. We're also on Twitch, LinkedIn, Alignable. We're streaming to all the major platforms, and you can find out more right down here at virtualconcerthalls.com, as well as priceattractions.com. We'd love to hear from you. We've had so much good responses and people sharing their personal thoughts and insights and interpretations of what we've been discussing, whether it was from truth to faith to falsehoods to patterns. We're covering a lot of what it means to be a human being, a musician, an artist, a performer, a manager in this industry. But yeah, we love to hear from you. And back to what we were saying, I'd love to explore a little bit more the relationship here with Jack Price of fear and bravery. What's that relationship?
Well, I think it's the relationship is the better part of you. We went over this in another show. In other words, you're afraid of being afraid, or you're afraid of fear, but then something else kicks in. Like you're on an airplane, let's say, and you know, and there's somebody hijacking the plane, and you just decide to jump on the guy and take his gun. Okay, something like that. I mean, okay,
Right.
People act also out of bravery. In other words, they think, oh, I've got to do this because otherwise, we're going to have a problem. So
Right.
people do things that are brave. They have brave acts that they kind of look up to, like, shouldn't I be doing that? Shouldn't I go after that? Shouldn't I go grab that guy that just grabbed that woman's purse because he's stealing it and he's running down the street? I should go tackle
What
him
feelings?
and be
Well,
a
then
hero.
what feelings are they acting out of in those
Oh,
responses?
those
when they
are
feel-
those are out of fear too, because they're afraid
Right.
of many things. They're afraid that the guy's going to get away with the money, with the purse, whatever. And the poor lady, you know, she's 70 years old and she's sitting there with no money. And I mean, there's fear
They're
everywhere.
afraid of things snowballing and getting worse than they already are. And they're
That's
afraid
you
of
hit it.
that.
They're afraid of the next guy. In this case, what you're talking about, they're afraid of the next scenario. What would happen if I don't get that guy? What would happen? Well, she loses the money, she loses the purse, maybe she can't pay her rent anymore. You don't know what's going to happen. You just act out of fear and you go save the day. So that fear becomes
Right, you don't know,
brave.
but you fear what could happen that you're imagining could
Yeah,
happen
so you
next.
become brave all of a sudden. It's not that you're such a brave person, it's just you act out of fear of it, of what's going to happen if you're not brave.
Well,
I know
so
it
is
sounds
bravery
convoluted,
acting right? So would you say then that bravery is acting in spite of your fear and overcoming that fear that was your barrier of, because you might even have the fear of acting itself. Would you say that bravery is that moment of conquering that fear of acting,
It
as
it
well
is.
as well as it's actually also its own act of fear of what's to come.
Exactly.
It's a
Think of the
multi-layered
performer.
action.
Think of yourself. You're a wonderful pianist, and you were walking out on stage, and you're going to play the Busoni Piano Concerto for the first time. For those of you that don't know the piece, it's a piece for piano, orchestra, and chorus, extended chorus probably. Anyway, it's a big piece. Let's say you're afraid. I mean, every performer's afraid in some way. Come on. If you're not walking out to the concert platform and taking your bow, and you're not slightly off, then you're not human. Then you're a machine and R2D2 or something. You know, I mean, you're just not. You're just yeah. You're not a living, fleshy, bloody person. You're something else.
Because we're all
everybody,
human and we make mistakes.
yeah, we make
And we
mistakes,
fear those mistakes.
yeah, we fear them, but we should embrace them. That's the catch. You see, I contend, and I might be an audience of one. I don't know. Maybe some people agree with me. I contend that our mistakes or fear of mistakes should be embraced and actually identify us. As I said in the last 2 episodes ago, I think. I can't remember
Define
now.
us.
Yeah, they define us. Like that fear and what you do out of fear to contend with the fear defines you. It's like we talked about, and other people have, of course, is when you fall, do you get up or do you just lay there and go, wow, what a loser. I just fell and I can't get up. You know, let's get out, break out the violins, add some roses in there. You know, might as well just die. If you're not gonna get up, then fear has conquered you. Your very fear has just happened. The very
You've allowed
thing.
fear to conquer you.
Yeah,
And you've given up any control.
yeah. There's a scene in Apocalypto, you know, that movie about the Mayan people where they sacrifice people for the gods and all this. And this guy's about to get his throat slit, and he tells his son, "Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. There's nothing to be afraid of." And he dies. You know, the enemy cuts his thing. You know, his jugular. But the son is horrified at first, and then because of that murder of his father, he becomes stronger. See, so there's always a silver lining in everything. I mean, even though it's a grotesque idea, you know, witnessing a death, especially like that, it can have there are good things and bad things and bad things and good things and happy things and sad things and sad things and happy things.
It's all
That's just the way.
intermixed.
Yeah, it's all the same. You know, it's like they say that there's a fine line between love and hate. Well, of course, that is true.
Yeah.
I have to
Right.
I have to laugh about that one because
Mhm.
yeah, that rings so true.
It
It's
does.
just
Yeah.
a very fine line. It's like,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I can come
Well,
up with a million scenarios that I've been in where, it's like this person told me a few weeks ago, you know what she said? She goes, this is a friend of mine. She goes, I just despise you, but I love
well,
you.
that's great, isn't it?
I just,
Perfect
I said,
example.
and I could have said, yeah, because I was feeling the same thing, but I didn't say that. I said, wow, that's interesting.
Well, so then I guess we've covered how you conquer fear
Just laugh
earlier
about it.
with the laughter, with a
Yeah,
different
well,
outlook.
there are other antidotes to fear, but laughter is a really quick knee jerk reaction. It's like, oh, wow, I can't believe that happened, that kind of thing. I mean, it's
And
funny.
realizing that whole ridiculousness of our human experience brings you out of it, gives you some perspective,
I'll
takes
tell you,
you out
here's
of that tunnel vision of fear.
absolutely. Here's a great example of this.
Mhm.
A friend of a friend said once that death came to him smiling, and the only thing he could do was smile back. Well, that's it right there. That's the ultimate conquering of fear. So you're dying, and death is smiling at you because he's or she is coming for you, and all you can say is, "Okay." I mean, what are you going to do? You're dying.
All right.
Okay.
Fine.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
Okay.
right.
Well,
Thank you, Larry.
great. Let's
Did we
I think
cover
we're
door number
out of
3?
time. That was door number 3 with how do you
Oh, then we're
conquer
done.
fear?
Okay, we're done.
Yep, we're good. Yeah. And yeah, I just want to thank you, Richie, Jack Price, for being with us here
Or
today.
whoever. Yeah.
And it's been a great topic to get into. I'm sure we'll do. I'm sure this will be a multi-part here, but for today, that's all the time we've got for fear. Thank you for being with us, and with
You're welcome.
that, we'll say bye to Jack Price, and the time is right. We'll be going here now, but I do want to take a moment here to thank all of our partners and our sponsors, without which we could not have made this broadcast possible. You can see them all up there. We've had so many join us along in our journey, our process, and we're constantly adding more collaborators that are so generous with their time and their support. So big shout out to them. And also a big shout out as well to the production team. And our broadcast today was brought to you by Christian Palagi. He was directing behind the scenes, and you can hear him down in the machine, Dan walking out there, kind of working all the switches and putting up all these sound effects. And he's kind of a third voice, you might say, to our show. But thank you all so much. Grateful to have you with us. And just to wrap up, that is what we've got for today on fear. And this has been Jack Price is Right. I am your host, Jennifer Savage, and I hope you've gotten a little something out of it, because I know I did. See you next week.